Alright guys, this is problem 24 of the AMC 10 Test A 2018, and this is one of the problems that you sort of overthink, right? And I kind of overthought this question first when I was doing the AMC, but when I looked at so I got this wrong, obviously. But when I was starting to look at the solutions, I realized how easy of a problem this was, right? And I'm just here to articulate the solutions a little easier to you. Alright, so let's start off by reading the problem. It says, triangle ABC with AB is equal to 50, so let's draw that. So, yeah. So AB is equal to 50, AC is equal to 10, has an area of 120, alright, so let's connect all of this. It's a triangle. It has an area of 120. Let D be the midpoint of AB, so D's midpoint. And let E be the midpoint of AC. Let me draw this in a different color. So the angle, but here, let's connect these two now. The angle bisector of BAC intersects DE and BC at F and G respectively. Alright, let's draw that now. So angle bisector of BAC. Let me redraw that. Come on, I gotta get this perfectly. Alright, so it intersects it at F and G respectively. Intersects F and G respectively. What is the area of quadrilateral FDBG? Alright, so now let's start solving our problem, okay? So if we start off by, when we see this angle bisector, right? The first thing I want you to think about is the angle bisector theorem, alright? And the angle bisector theorem states that if BAF, alright, BAF is equal to FAC, then 50 over let's call this place where it intersects right here X, alright? We're gonna call it X. And we're gonna call this GC, we're gonna call that Y, right? So BG, we're gonna call that X, and GC is gonna be equal to Y. Alright, and it says when BAF is equivalent to CAG, then 50 over X is equal to the ratio of 10 over Y. Okay? Now let's cross multiply, alright? So we have 50 y is equal to 10x. Alright, we can divide each side by 10. These two cancel out. We can divide each side by y. So then it tells us that 5, alright, because 50 divided by 10 is 5. So equal to x over y. And in other words, x is 5 times y, okay? So we can now put this all in terms of x, right? This can just be x, and this can be 5x, right? Because x is 5 times y, alright, and we clearly just turned it into terms of x right here. Okay, now what else do we do to this, alright? Well, we know since this line and this line, they're just connecting the midpoints, alright? And if we think about our midpoint triangle theorem in geometry, it states that if if it connects the midpoints, then this line and this line are parallel to each other. And also, if these two are parallel to each other, and it also states that everything here is half of this, alright? And if every value here, like the base, the height, this length, alright, because this is 5, and this whole thing is 10, right? So if everything is half of the larger triangle, BAC, right, then, hold on, let me label this as E. If everything is half, if EAD, oh sorry, that's just the phone. If EAD is half of BAC, then this area right here will be 1/4 of BAC, alright? So you know that EAC, or EAD, triangle EAD is equal to 1/4 of BAC. And let me tell you why. For example, if we took half of the height, or if we took height times base, and let's give that a value for 4 example, right? So you have height times base is equal to 4. And then this one is just half the height and half the base is equal to 2, or half times base divided by 2 is equal to 4. Then to multiply each side by 2, HB is equal to 8, alright? Now if we took half the height and half the base, divided that by 2, that would be half the height, half the base. Well, you're dividing this by 2 twice, alright? So that'll be equal to 2 in this case, and that'll be equal to 1 in this case, alright? So because then you'll have HB over 4 instead of just regular HB, alright? Alright, so we've established that. So now let's go back to here. So 1/4 of BAC. Well, we know BAC has an area of 120. It tells us that right here, right? And what's 1/4 of 120? Well, that's 30, right? So we know that EAD is equal to 30. Okay? And if EAD is equal to 30, that means EDCB is equal to 90, right? Because 120 minus 30 is equal to 90. So if this right here is equal to 90, so we're going to say B, E, this is D right here. If BEDC is equal to 90, so we have that, and because they have the same height right here, they have the same, they're all proportional to each other, right? This is also x, 5x, right? Because these two are parallel to each other. And if these two have the same ratio and these two have the same ratio, that means you know this line is parallel to this line right here, right? It's not fully proportional. It's not in a real scale, but so this is not a scale drawing, but you know, these two are parallel to each other. All right, these two are parallel to each other. And if these two are parallel to each other, and the ratio between this and this is 5 to 1, we know that this area is 5 times this area right here, all right? And so now let's try to find, and if these two areas combined is equal to 90, well, we can just do this. Let's call the area of this whole thing y. Let's call the area of this whole thing, or let's call the area of this whole thing 5y. Let's call the area of this whole thing just regular y. If we add them, so 5y plus y is 6y is equal to 90. 90 divided by 6, right? Divide 6 on both sides. That is equal to, what is it equal to? Come on. It's equal to 15, so y is equal to 15. Alright, and since this is 5 times this area, 15 times 5 is equal to 75, alright? And then we have 75 as one of our answers right somewhere. 75 is supposed to be one of our answers. I forgot to include it right here, but just know that 75 is our answer to this problem, alright? And let me just let's just create our own answer choice right here. F is equal to 75. And that's our answer, alright? And so remember, this problem is more simple than most of you think. So just don't overthink these problems like I did, alright? So learn from that. There you go, that's how you solve it.